All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the film section. I'm Chris. This is Mark. Uh, I guess our goal here, we're just like two guys who like movies a lot, like more than a lot. And just there aren't many people that we talk to about this stuff that are even remotely interested in what the fuck we're talking about. So we decided to do this together because we're instead of somebody just listening to us talk, we know what we're talking about when we tell each
For
other.
the
Like
most part.
it's not falling on deaf ears. So today, I guess I don't know. I don't guess we're gonna talk about *Malignant*, the James Wan's recent film that was in theaters and HBO Max right now.
Yeah. So as you said, this movie is directed by James Wan. It's an original story. It came out September 12th with a budget of about like 40 million. And keep in mind, this is James Wan's I think almost like his 10th movie. So he had complete creative liberty from like Warner Brothers and his own like production company and everything that went through it. And I have a hard time with this movie. Okay. So the movie is. Should we just go straight into spoilers, or do you want to keep it vague, or how do you?
All right. Well,
how do you feel like talking about this monster of a movie, this tumor of a movie?
For the listeners, we might get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want spoilers, I would suggest listening to this after, because we're just gonna say it. Even if I said I wasn't going to, I probably will accidentally do it. So just for your sake, listeners, we're probably gonna give out some spoilers. Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. So this movie is about a woman who has an imaginary friend. When the movie starts off, this woman has an imaginary friend who is just kind of going around killing people. And there's sort of this mystery about who the friend is. Is it actually this woman? And so it's sort of this weird, kind of mystery horror slasher thing. And to the movie's credit, the first time you watch it, it definitely keeps you engaged. Like, it's very interesting. Like, it definitely raises like a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
But so this movie starts off from the very first scene with like this wild, almost sci-fi horror, feels almost like a B movie. Where and then at the end of this opening scene, they're like trying to excise this weird creature that is just, it looks kind of cheap even from behind like this thin plastic curtain.
I didn't, when I was watching this, I just thought they were talking about a person. And then you see like that plastic you can't really see through, but you could see like the silhouette kind of. And you see this little, like, I don't know what to call it. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And
it looks so bad.
Like, it looked really bad, but then I was like, all right, this is getting weird. I'll stay on for it. Like, I genuinely was like, let me see where this goes. Let's see where this goes.
Oh yeah. But so that's the opening scene, where it ends with like this weird alien looking prosthetic thing, and then it goes into the opening credits, and then it opens with our main character, and instantly from that shot on, there's a complete tonal shift from what we just saw in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. it turns into like it feels like it turns into like a police procedural for like a half hour.
Yeah, which for that half hour, I'm actually on board for. That's probably the part of the movie that I liked the most was the mystery behind it, because the last third act of this movie, and we'll get to it, goes completely batshit insane.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
And some people are on board with it, and I'm personally not. Like we were talking about, like Chris Stuckman had a review earlier where he was kind of giving the movie praise for how just off the wall it is, and I thought it was ridiculous. But so
I'm gonna give the movie. I mean, once we get there, I'm gonna give the movie some praise for some things. But I mean,
yeah, well,
whole,
okay. So why don't we actually get into that before I shit on this movie too hard?
We should keep going. We should keep going. Like we're going through the movie, so we had that opening scene.
Yeah. Well,
then we just touched on like a half hour after that movie, which is like a police procedural, which was boring to me, but also kept my interest because I didn't know exactly what was going. Like at first, I was like, I swear to God, if this girl has like a split personality or something, I'm gonna be super pissed.
Which I mean,
generic thing.
Well, yeah, I mean the movie,
especially with the way they marketed it.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the marketing actually for a second, because I don't know how you would market this movie. It's
you can't without spoiling it.
Well, yeah, and so it's like with James Wan being the guy that you know as like Insidious and The Conjuring before you even think of Saw anymore. Like,
yep.
So the movie is marketed as like almost like a Conjuring type of movie, which it's not at all.
Right.
But I mean, at the same time, even James Wan was saying this movie is like a throwback to like the old school giallo horrors and stuff, which I also don't think it is.
I mean, if he's speaking on the fact that this killer wore some black gloves,
right? Like that's pretty much
like it. That's what you're basing. You're throwing the word giallo out there because you put some black, because the killer's wearing some black gloves
and like has like a really shiny dagger,
and really loud, annoying music.
Well,
got it. Check, James.
Well,
the music wasn't bad. It was just like they turned it up really loud, and like we're trying to jolt you at every turn.
Yeah, the music doesn't work, and I mean, again, we can get into that, but again, kind of like back to what you were saying, like there's the marketing for this movie was terrible because I don't think there is a safe way to market it, because if you were to market it as this like off the wall, just batshit insane, like weird movie that is 20 different tones, like you can't do it. And so I mean, to me, this feels like a straight to like DVD release. Like this does not feel like a movie that would garner any sort of like huge popularity, even though a lot of people seem to really like it.
I mean, I like it. It's not like I'm not going to take a complete shit on it. Like I liked it. I thought it was all right.
I think it's filmed well.
It seems to be a real pattern this year. I mean, I guess we'll blame the pandemic that they're telling, like HBO and other services are like, hey, we're going to drop the theater movies for you right at home. You don't got to leave, but they're giving you like subpar mediocre shit. And it seems to be like, well, I don't want to call it subpar or mediocre, but like middle of the road type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, there's not like, I don't have a problem with those like middle of the road movies. You know, I think those are becoming like more and more scarce actually, where movies are just okay. But I think this movie is trying to be a lot of different things. And so as you said, for the first 30 minutes of the movie, it's like a police procedural. It's a weird kind of almost like a whodunit sort of mystery. And then I think like at that point we really get our first glimpse of like Gabriel stabbing the shit out of this old guy in a bathtub.
Yeah. There, yeah.
Um, and Gabriel looks whack. Like
It's like,
he
hey,
looks like a Matrix reject. I'm sorry.
I'm I'm influenced by giallo, but I also am influenced by the Matrix
Yeah,
and the Ring with my
yeah.
long wet hair. You
Oh
can't
my
see my.
god. It, yeah, he is
I
so
really, I really don't want to take a shit on this movie, but
well. I just so when we first meet Gabriel, um, and he stabs this old guy, and it's it's cool, it's bloody. I'm like, all right, like, so we're
Mhm.
starting to get into it, but at this point, James Wan, like the score of this movie, has already started to bother me
Yeah,
because
yeah,
there's this thing where he's already used kind of like these weird jump scares. Like there's the one scene where our main character is like walking up the stairs and like this little kid runs like by the stairs and there's just like this big
yeah.
sound, which is stupid because why? Like you don't need that. And then the every time there's a close up on a character's face, there's like this big intense like swelling music every time there's a close up on someone's face, and it's annoying. It's
Mhm.
like, and I understand if James Wan is trying to go for the over the top kind of feeling for this movie because it gets there, but when it's still a police procedural and everything's quiet and in these like dark blue tones and like and they're just like they're at like the police station and the cop is talking to her, you don't need loud noises. You can let the scene
Why?
breathe a little bit.
Why is everyone in this movie like the worst actors?
See the
They're
actually
not good.
it's
Well, not. I mean, the main woman, she's all right.
she's not
Um,
bad. I
but
mean,
I think okay, all right. I got a little overzealous. The cops, the two cops, mm,
they're annoying.
they're not good.
No, no, they're bad. And it was one of those instances where I was sort of like, all right, at what point are these cops going to die and how are they going to do it? Like that's what I was more interested in than hearing what they had to say because it just
these
wasn't.
fucking these fucking cops were both John Rambo.
Well, and they were, and I think this is where it like the tone of the movie is where I get really probably like the most upset because the movie can't seem to find what it wants to be.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's like the movie, is really campy and cheesy and over the top and fun, but it's also like so serious and so like dreary and dour and like
yeah,
almost like soap opera.
yeah.
And so it's like I'm okay with the bait and switch, but it just is like just this hardest left turn.
I mean, I think aside from like the like too much red lighting
Well,
of
that was the
headlights.
giallo inspiration, I'm assuming.
Oh, red lights and black gloves. Now
Yeah.
it's the giallo. I did like the way the movie I did like the way the movie was shot. I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, yeah, there were the weird close-ups and shit, but the look of it as a whole, like
It was
it
cool.
did have throughout, even when it changed a little, it just had a straight ominous tone.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it was dark, but it wasn't like too dark. It was just like the way it was shot. I really like. I think that's what might have kept me in it. But then, I mean,
Definitely.
again, we'll talk about it later upon the like trying to watch it the second time. Like that didn't save it for me.
Yeah. No, I would definitely agree that like the cinematography was probably the best part of the film
Mm-hmm.
to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, so I actually looked it up because the guy who was like the director of photography was a guy named Michael Burgess, who
Okay.
he's worked on like The Conjuring 2. He's worked on Aquaman. So he's worked with James Wan. He's worked in the Conjuring universe. But
Aquaman was incredible.
he also worked on Logan and the Avengers from 2012.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I like
I
this
don't know if
guy.
he was like the DOP of those, but he was like cameraman, camera assistant, director of photography for like the additional photography or something. But
I'd also like to know the cinematographer for Logan, because that was another very nice looking movie.
I mean he was one of them. So
Okay.
it's like the Michael Burge. I think a lot of the film's aesthetic appeal is due to Michael Burgess behind like the
Sure.
actual like eyes behind the camera. And so because
Mm-hmm.
there is one specific scene I remember where our main character is like going through the kitchen and there's just like a small black light with like a big vignette around it. and
Yeah.
and that scene just looked really cool. Just how it was filmed, kind of the graininess in it. It looked like an old school kind of like 70s or 80s film. Um,
Right.
which I thought was really cool. But that does bring me to my next problem, though, is the editing of this movie. Just in general,
Ooh, yeah. I
it's
think we
rough.
talked about this a little bit off camera.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
Like it there. So there's one scene where, I was trying to figure out why the editing of this movie bugged me, and it's because it doesn't have any room. Like none of these scenes have any time or room to like breathe.
Was it because Darren Lynn Bousman edited the film? Or?
That I don't know. I didn't look that
I'm
up
just
because I was
kidding.
just like,
I'm just kidding. I have no idea, but um, yeah,
it's
that was
choppy.
fucking okay. So an example in this movie is when the sister goes to that abandoned hospital and finds all the records. It's going back and forth, but I'm so goddamn confused because of the editing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It,
Um,
yeah.
another another example, not this movie, is for me is the third act of that latest Predator movie.
I haven't
When
seen it.
I haven't seen it, well, there's at the end there's like a scene. They have like the final showdown. It's like in this weird area. It's like mountainous, but also woods. And they're out in the woods because they're being chased by the predator, and there are things happening. Like there was a point in the movie, in the part of that movie, where a character gets killed, but it took me 10 minutes to realize they were dead because of the editing. They didn't
Okay.
even really,
Yeah.
like, you saw the shit about to happen, and then it cuts, and then 10 minutes later you're like, oh, that guy must have died, huh? Oh, the editing in that, like, I really liked that movie, but the editing in that movie was woo. You thought this shit was bad.
Well, that was Shane Black, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the
So
movie the movie as a whole was really fun, and I liked it. I watched it a couple times, but the editing is a real problem.
yeah, yeah, and I don't know if that's like a studio meddling or if that's like an actual like conscious decision on like the filmmaker's part. But either way, like the editing, I mean, I can't speak to Predator because I haven't seen it, but for Malignant is just it's so like choppy and it's just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it bounces from scene to scene, from character to character, and it's just
Yeah.
like you can have like okay, so one for a portion of the movie I got really confused because
Mm-hmm.
when Gabriel kidnaps this woman and puts her in an attic and like ties her up in an attic, and the for a big part of the movie, I thought this woman tied up in this attic was our main character. But at like a different point, I'm like in like the timeline, I was like, because the lighting, it's kind of dark, and it's just a pale white woman with long brown hair. Like,
I actually had no idea who that was. So.
yeah, it was just every time it popped up, I was like, okay, so is this like before the murders? Is this after the murders? Like, what is this? And then when we finally get to the third act, and we realize that Gabriel is essentially this wild tumor on the back of our.
It's a parasitic twin.
Yeah, okay. It's a parasitic twin.
Fucking tumor.
The movie's called Malignant.
The movie's called Malignant.
Yeah. So we find out that it's a parasitic twin that is essentially controlling our main character to kill all these people. Which, when we kind of, really figure that out, is when one of the coolest scenes in the whole movie happens, which is when she's in the jail cell and she takes out all those people.
Yeah.
Really awesome. What takes me out of that scene, though, is whenever they show the main character's face while Gabriel is just wrecking everyone, because the effect is so cheesy. It looks like they took a weird, like, mask, like they cut like a Michael Myers mask or something, and they just tied it to the back of this person's head. Like, it looks so cheesy. And I was like, every time, because Gabriel would kill someone, and I'd be like, that looked cool. And then they would show Gabriel like running around, and it's like, that looks so bad. And especially because he's like running backwards too. So he's like crab walking most of the time.
Yes. Yeah, it was really weird. Anytime there was Gabriel, and like that scene was really badass, but I was also very put off by the backwardness of it and the weirdness of the movements. And like, I get it, but like, man. And Gabriel became fucking John Wick.
Yeah, who can do like insane parkour and everything.
So what they reveal is that he brought himself, he strengthened himself to come back by feeding off of her baby, her pregnancy that she lost.
Yeah.
Which wasn't caused by her really shitty husband guy that was also a shitty actor smacking her into the wall. That guy sucked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that guy.
I'm watching that.
Well, so when her husband smashed her head against the wall, I guess that like woke up Gabriel.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which it's like, okay, but it brings me to the problem with the third act now of you've just set up this wildly inconsistent tone. And so now when Gabriel is going around killing everyone, freaking out, it's like it's a video game. Like it's a really hardcore video game. And it's cool to look at. And it definitely like kind of makes, obviously, like that opening scene where it's like a sci-fi horror movie makes sense. But the problem that I'm having is that this whole time, the movie has now gone from a sci-fi horror to a police procedural to a slasher to now just like an apeshit action movie.
And I feel like the story surrounding it is like, it's like then it became a really campy movie.
Yeah, which, I mean, campy's fine. Like, I love campy movies. Like, Friday the 13th is, one of my favorite franchises. So I love
tone, though. Like, set a tone.
Yeah. And that's the problem, is that it doesn't really feel like this movie is as self-aware as like they think they are. Because for the whole, for an hour into the movie, it's so serious and so like over dramatic. And then it goes crazy, but the tone of the movie, while it's going insane, is still serious. The lighting is all the same, the camera is still the same, the music is still the same. The only thing that's changed is how the characters are now acting.
How did this movie even end? I don't remember. I know it was like a reveal and the mom.
Well, yeah, it was a reveal, and I think I didn't Gabriel like get away. I thought.
I know the
Or no, she like closed
they
the
shot
door on
her.
Gabriel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
She did. She took over. She took because the story is how she knew about the murders was he basically locked her mentally
yeah.
into where she was while he took over and killed people. That's
Yeah.
how she could see the murders happening, right? And she took over mentally.
Which I mean,
But I don't know. I just don't remember how it ended.
honestly, like I feel like that's how it ended. Was her just like closing the door on Gabriel and being like, okay.
All right, Gabe.
Like, all right, that's
Peace
like,
out, homie.
yeah. So I mean, it's like if you want to set it up for a sequel, I hope that they don't. But
I agree. I don't. I think, but a movie like this, even if I thought it was amazing, I don't think they shouldn't make a sequel. It just doesn't seem like that kind of movie.
it doesn't. But I mean, again, a lot of reviewers that I'm
will.
watching on YouTube, they are saying like Gabriel is like the next big slasher, and this is like the shot in the arm that horror needs and everything. It's like, no, I don't think so.
I mean, just to put this out there, also people that support Nicki Minaj and thinking that her assessment of vaccines is correct. So
She's so concerned about testicles. I don't
she's
know.
really
I don't
she's
know what
really
the
concerned
issue.
about testes.
She's so concerned.
You all right? I mean, I feel like we did it, but do you want to get into, you want to give me your pros and cons of this? Because I'll shoot right off after.
Well, okay. So I guess the pros that I have of Malignant overall are it's filmed really well. I do like the use of red and blue and how they do kind of like contrast each other a little bit.
Yeah.
For one thing that's a plus, but it's also one of my biggest cons, is there's a remix of Where's My Mind by the Pixies that is used in this movie that for the 2 seconds it plays sounds so awesome. Like, just, it sounds so cool and it fits. It fits with the movie and they use it twice.
It's perfect.
They use it 2 times for like 2 seconds and it just cuts off. And so those are my pros. What are your pros?
My pros are the way it was shot, how it looks. Definitely a thing. I it was unique. I mean, for all the shit we were saying about it, it was very unique. Like I don't feel like I've seen a movie that does this. Like has someone with a parasitic twin on their back, like coming out of the back of their fucking head. Like, I mean, okay, so there's Basket Case, but they were Siamese twins and separated.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to carry around the fucking basket, but that movie also knew what it was.
Well, okay. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's one of my cons, but to me, I don't feel like this movie is very original, honestly.
I can absolutely agree with you on the fact that it's insane that people think Gabriel is the next big slasher.
Yeah.
Because that is absolutely ridiculous talk. No. Ridiculous talk.
Yeah.
It's not. I want these people that think this movie is so amazing. And I'm not saying it's a huge piece of shit, I just want the people that use the word amazing, or God forbid, classic, to try to play this movie again. Play it again. Watch it again. That's what I want.
I think so. Were those all your pros, or did you have any more pros?
I think that's the two pros I had. I thought the lead actress was decent. I thought she did a good job because I mean, she's playing someone that's being portrayed as out of her mind, but she's not. Um, Other than that, everyone was like pretty subpar.
Yeah,
My I don't know. I don't know. Like I want to say the music was good, but it was just like, hey, do you want your eardrums blown out at
yeah,
every fucking second? Like the music's good, but it's like just why is it fucking killing my eardrums?
yeah. To me, it's not used right. There's moments where the soundtrack works or the score works, and then there's other moments where it's like, why is this playing right now? Like this doesn't need to be on. Um, which is another one of my cons is like these weird needle drops. Like as I said, like the "Where's My Mind" needle drops
Yeah,
that just made no
yeah.
sense. The
Well, hit your cons. Hit your cons. Let's hear it.
what?
You're already into hit your cons. You're already into it.
What? So I mean, I've already said most of them like throughout this like conversation
Yeah.
already. That like the tone is it's weirdly inconsistent where
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel like it's self-aware. It doesn't feel like it knows what it is, but it's like trying to wink at the audience, but it doesn't know how to wink kind of thing. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
like that's how it kind of feels to me. And so that's kind of one of the biggest things. I already said it doesn't really feel original. It feels like it's basket case inside the Conjuring universe. That's what the movie feels like to me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Um, which for some people obviously is really cool. For me, I mean, the Conjuring movies have never been my favorite, anyways. Um,
I liked the first one.
I like the first one.
Can't say
Uh,
much for the other ones. I haven't even seen the last one, so I don't know.
I I think I saw like the first like 10 minutes of the third one, but yeah. But then I guess my last con is just the special effects in this movie for 40 $40 million budget. The effects in this movie are not good. Like
40 million today is not
it's not a lot. I mean, if you think
not a lot.
about if you think about it, chapter 1 back in 2017 that had a budget of like 35 million.
I don't. It's a whole different story. I don't know if you that can of worms with me.
Well, I will say this. I do feel like if this movie were directed by, say, Andy Muschietti, it would
Mhm.
be very self-aware and they would know how to do the camp
Right,
of this
right.
movie. And then I was thinking if it was directed by I can't think of who the other person that I was thinking of the other day. Like if they directed it, it would just be so serious and like so like
What if David Fincher directed *Malignant*?
who
I feel like the look of the movie lent itself to David Fincher. The way it looked.
it
I
kind of
was like had a Zodiac look, sort of.
it kind
I mean,
of
minus
yeah.
the colors, minus the hues and shit, but like,
Well, it also sort of reminded me mostly of just the look of the parasitic twin. Kind of reminded me of Eraserhead, his like
ah!
child or whatever. It kind of reminded me of that just a little bit. But
Right,
again,
right.
Eraserhead, I feel like is more self-aware than
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
um. So that's so okay. Overall, out of 10, what do you give this movie?
I'll give this a 5.5.
Okay. I was gonna give it a 5.3
All
out of
right. I
10.
mean, we're in the same area. We're in the
Yeah,
same area.
yeah.
It's not like listen, we're bitching a lot about it. If you take it for what it is, you can enjoy it for a one-time viewing. Honestly,
It's definitely
because
worth a watch.
yeah, because I try for this. I wanted to go back and watch it again. I really couldn't make it through. I tried. I got a good portion of the way through, but then I was like, all right, I remember. I was like, I think I can remember everything else, so I'm
Yeah.
good here. I turned it off. But like for real, for sure, watch it once. I mean, you're not gonna, you won't be mad when it ends. Like you're not gonna be pissed off about it. It's not a
No,
movie you're like, fuck, dude, I wasted this much time watching this. Like it's visually, I think you could watch it even if you don't like visually. If you're not into it by the middle of the movie, visually just stay on because it looks. I think it looks great. I think
it
it
looks
looks
cool.
good.
Yeah, it looks cool. But for me, it's definitely a movie that I've watched, I guess, like 1.5 times, and I
Mm-hmm.
just I don't think I'm ever gonna watch it again. It doesn't. It's
Yeah.
not. It's for me. It's not like a. It's not even like a Halloween movie. Like it's not a movie that I would put
Right.
for the
Right.
for the Halloween season. It's just
This is. I think I told you earlier when we weren't on, but it likens to like the M Night Shyamalan movies, where it's like you watch an M Night Shyamalan. I mean, all right, I'm gonna give you an exception for me at least. Is Unbreakable. I fucking love Unbreakable. I've watched that more than once. But any other M Night Shyamalan movie, I think it's great the first time I watch it, but I'm pretty sure I'm never watching it again because they hit you with that twist, and you're like, "Well, I already know it. So why watch
yeah.
this whole fucking movie for the twist again that I already know?"
I think
There's a lot of movies like that. I can't just blame him. There's a lot of movies like
yeah. I think I mean for me, the M Night Shyamalan movie that I can kind of watch sort of over and over is honestly The Sixth Sense. Just on like a filmmaking point of view and a
that. Oh,
storytelling point of view,
yeah, I
it's
see
just a
that. I
great
see that.
movie. So it's like I can watch it and I can just sit back and be like, this is just good filmmaking, good
Oh,
storytelling.
definitely.
Um,
Agreed. Absolutely.
but okay, so let's kind of take a step back and let's talk about James Wan, just the filmmaker James Wan. Let's talk about his movies. What are some
Oh,
of your
thank
favorite James
God.
Wan movies? Some of your least favorites?
Do you have a list of his movies or
Uh,
no?
I can look it up really quick. See if I
I
can.
mean, I know I have ones in my head, but I feel like with a full filmography, I could just go through them.
Yeah, just give me 1 second here. I can find
Because I
this.
don't want I don't want to miss something. Call some like I feel like one of definitely top three James Wan movies. I got to say Dead Silence for sure, and that's one I feel like a lot of people like. Half the crowd sleeps on, and there's a good pocket of people that are like, "Man, Dead Silence."
I
Like nobody brings that up right away. You know
I
what I'm
love
saying?
Dead Silence is really the only James Wan movie that I can like keep rewatching. I never get bored of it.
Yeah.
All right, so I have his list right here. Let's see if I can do this actually with you. I don't know if it'll work or not, but we're gonna see if I can. Tell me if that worked or not.
Oh, it looks like it's loading it. Come on, you can do it. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Okay, so you see him.
Yep, I see him.
All right, so I mean, it these are all of his movies.
Is what is Insidious: The Dark Realm? What is that like new? Is that coming out?
Well, that's going to be the new Insidious movie.
Oh, it's in post. It's in post. All right.
Yeah,
We've got the new Aquaman's in post.
yeah. So
Oh wow, he executive produced that Swamp Thing series. You know what? You know what's
yeah,
really fucked up is I watched the first episode of that Swamp Thing series, and then right after I watched the first episode, they said they canceled it. And man, that first episode, it's the only one I watched. I have the DVD of the complete season because I'm an old school guy, so I feel like if I buy something, they're gonna see it and be like, oh, people are buying it, so
Hmm.
maybe they'll bring it back because that first episode I watched was really fucking good. All right, so what do we got?
So these are all the movies that he's
Archive number.
directed.
Okay, so we got. I've never. I don't know what Stygian is.
Neither do I.
It's the short film of Saw, right? That's what. That's what got them Saw.
Hmm.
Saw. Actually watched Saw more than once, and there's a lot of twists and turns in that movie.
It's a good one.
I
I mean,
like.
I think,
It's good.
the Saw movie like kind of kickstarted what, the gore porn,
Torture porn.
torture porn. Yeah, so it, for what Saw
Oh,
is,
directed it.
it's good.
Oh man. Oh, we're gonna talk about that.
What?
I'm just looking at this list and I
Uh,
forgot that he directed this movie. And I really
um,
like this movie too.
but so Dead Silence, that came out in 2000. Okay, so Dead Silence came out in 2007. That's kind of crazy. Um,
Yeah.
so I remember when how I heard about Dead Silence was from this very emo band that I liked at the time.
Wow.
I was in
I'm,
seventh grade, so
okay.
um, so the song came out. I watched the music video. It had like clips of the movie, and I was like, "Oh, this looks cool." My like 12-year-old brain was like,
Mm-hmm.
rated R horror from the guy who directed Saw. Um, so I remember I found it at it was when Blockbusters were still open in 2007 and
Yeah.
2008. Um,
Yeah.
I went to Blockbuster and I rented Dead Silence. I think it was actually like the unrated version. And I gotta be honest, that movie scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like it creeped me out. Mary Shaw like is
Uh,
terrifying. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen if that's cool.
that's
Um,
totally fine. I got an idea here.
but so the Dead Silent, and it's funny that so many people don't like that movie because to me it feels like such like a very classic kind of like ghost story or such a very classic like scary story.
It
Just
almost is like it almost throws me back to like those like 50s and 60s like
definitely.
horror.
Oh
Which
yeah.
people like I grew this how I started was like AMC, their Fear Fest really consisted of during Halloween was
Definitely. Yeah.
Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman. So I started on all. And then when I got older, I mean, obviously I grew up, there was Freddy and all that. I was into that. Um, but it wasn't until like maybe 12 years ago I went back and I started like slowly watching things from like the 60s and 70s. Like really before 10, 12 years ago, the only movie from the 70s I really watched was fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean,
Uh,
I've seen Psycho, obviously. That's like a huge one. Everybody's got to see that.
yeah.
But well, I watched this movie and then I did more like I watched more older movies from like the 50s and 60s. This really reminded me of that
Mhm.
type of movie, which was really fucking cool. Like
Oh yeah.
for it to be made then and have that atmosphere or that look, like is crazy.
Well, and I think it's one of those movies that when you watch it, you can see a lot of the the almost like the blueprints beginning to get laid out for movies like Insidious or The Conjuring,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
you see a lot
Absolutely.
more of James Wan is kind of playing with what is now like the modern day like popular style, where it's like almost like a roller coaster, where it's like building up and then the big jump scare happens.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and that movie to me was one of it obviously not the first movie for it, but definitely one of the movies that kind of brought it back. Um, and like as I said, just sort of laid the groundwork for what to me I think is James Wan's best movie, which is Insidious. Um,
You're also you're also making me feel really old because you said in 2007, 12, I was 26. Uh, and The early mid 2000s. I
That was a
had a
weird
different
time for
way.
horror.
I had a different way. It was a weird time for horror, a good time, but it was like weird transitional. Um, this is around the time my DVD collection consisted of never seeing a movie, but when they come out on DVD or Blu-ray, I go to the store and just buy them.
Hmm.
Don't care, and then I end up with way too many fucking movies, and too many movies that I probably shouldn't have had. But this was definitely one of them. Like it was in the theaters, it was horror, and if I didn't get to the theaters to see it, it was automatic. I was just gonna buy it. But man, I was fucking blown away by this movie. It was really, 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 really good. And it did. You're right. It did lay the blueprint for shit like Insidious and all that. Like what he with more of a budget, what he would do.
Oh
You know?
yeah, and I mean even it was funny because even watching Malignant, I thought about Dead Silence just in how blue everything was.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Dead Silence used a lot of very like deep saturated blues and reds, and that was was kind of it. So yeah, I mean, to me, Dead Silence is the James Wan movie that I've watched the most.
Yes.
I don't get tired of it. I'm always like it's just a fun, scary story, which I think is ultimately what you need.
And Donnie Wahlberg's in it, dude.
Right? Yeah.
Come on. The movie above this is probably my second favorite James Wan movie, and it's Death Sentence. I almost actually forgot that he directed this, and I fucking love this movie.
What is
Kevin Bacon is the dad of trying to think of the actor. He was the white guy. You ever see Three Brothers with Mark Wahlberg?
Four Brothers.
Four Brothers.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Kevin Bacon plays the dad, and the white guy in the Four Brothers is his son.
Okay. I think I know what movie you're talking about. And like Kevin Bacon basically goes on like a rampage to like kill the people that like got his son, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like Death Wish.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But
yeah.
fucking awesome. I
So,
love that movie.
Yeah.
Love that movie. So good.
So I've never seen it, but the movie above that even though I've only seen it a couple of times, is as I've said, to me is I think James Wan's best movie is Insidious.
I've seen that twice. Yeah.
I just for me it's scary. He knows like the sound design is used
Oh God.
so well.
Perfect.
You know, the Tiptoe Through the Tulips is now one of the scariest songs ever.
It's all right, dude. It was scary forever.
It's for me.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
For me, what's the guy's name? Tiny Tim. That's the. All I knew him from was SpongeBob, because his name's SpongeBob. Yeah. So when I hear this guy's voice playing in this terrifying movie, I can't listen to him anymore without being scared.
Dude, what about the scenes that are like, it's like if you're really paying attention to the movie, they fuck you up. Like,
oh yeah.
I think it was like in the beginning, they like show in that kid's room, and you like I think it's like a white curtain, but you see the face in it. Oh my God, dude, that scared the shit out of me, bro. It scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh, okay, I see what people are talking about.
It was and it's PG-13, and so it's like for all the people that are like PG-13 horror sucks and everything, it's like no, it doesn't. Yeah,
absolutely works.
It's just like you need to know the story, because like some stories, like I'm trying to think, like Friday the 13th, you can't ever make that PG-13. You just can't do that.
Well, if they really trimmed down, like if it wasn't an overly gory movie, that could have been PG. Take out boobs and you take out language and you trim some gore. Like, don't show it full on. You could get at least a PG-13 and tell a good story.
Yeah, I guess
The story in that movie is great.
Of
Friday
Insidious
the
or
13th.
Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the story's
Like,
good,
if you did some trimming and like had actors not curse.
but at this point, as a Friday the 13th fan who's seen all 12 Friday the 13th movies, would you want to
Okay,
see it?
yeah.
You know,
No.
right? Right. You want to see
I mean,
Jason.
now with your, when you look for when you're on the when you're looking at it from the other end where you've seen
Mhm.
everything, and yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Right. So it very much depends on the story, like on the IP, but which then kind of brings me to the Conjuring movies, which I think those could have been PG-13 very easily.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And I I don't know how you feel about them, but the Conjuring movies like make me upset, not in like a good way, in like they make me upset that like I'm mad because the third act of the movie just turns into loud noise with a bunch of shit flying around. Um,
I very much like the first film. I cannot say
First
anything
one
for the
up until
I
the
cannot
end.
say anything for the second ones. Also, given the history of these Warrens, I can't really take it too seriously
Oh
because
no.
the people that they are portrayed as on the screen aren't the people that they really were.
I mean,
They were pretty much frauds. They were
yeah.
frauds.
I mean, I don't know a lot about them. I have an ex who did like a lot of like intensive research on the Warrens, and she loved them, but she was like, I remember when we saw The Conjuring in theaters, she was like, "The
Mhm.
fuck is this?" Like she was
Yeah,
like, "This is not how they were." So,
yeah, yeah. There is a
um,
movie. There is a movie that it was a TV movie, and I'm pretty sure it came on. It was on Fox when I was 10 years old, and it has involvement with the Warrens. I believe there are a couple actors that play the Warrens in it, and I'm pretty sure it was about a case that they were involved in. It's called The Haunting or A Haunting, and it's scary. It was a TV movie, and it scared the shit out of 10-year-old me.
there's
I was fucking
dude,
scared to death of this TV movie, bro. I was scared to fucking death.
TV movies need their flowers, like need their roses, because there are some TV movies that are legitimately terrifying. Um, there was what was the movie? It was a movie that I saw. I think I was like six, maybe like 6 or 7, because I was still living in our first house.
Mhm.
And it was this movie called Believe, where I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's about this it's about this like troublemaking kid who by today's standards is like not a troublemaker at all. He's a very good kid. Um, but he moves into his grandpa's like big like mansion. And while this kid, moves into this mansion in this super small town, he meets this girl who I think is played by what's her name, Elisha or Alicia Cuthbert or something. She's
From 24.
24.
She was Kiefer Sutherland's daughter in 24.
Oh, maybe she's also in Old School.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so she's in it, but these
Uh-huh.
kids, if you knew who the main character was, you would recognize him too. But these, they're like 17 in this movie, playing like
Okay.
14-year-olds. Um,
Right.
but
Par for the course on these
yeah,
kinds of movies.
so anyway, there was so this kid moves to town, he runs into some bullies, and they're talking about like this like local like haunted house or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so this the kid and Alicia Cuthbert's characters like deck out this house into making it like a haunted house and basically trick these bullies into believing that the house was haunted and like scaring the shit out of them. And I just
Okay.
remember when I was like 6 or 7, that scaring the shit out of me. And it was a TV movie, and it scared me so bad.
I've actually never heard of this movie. I might have to look into that. Might have to. You should
look it up. I mean, it's super cheesy. It's like
it's a TV movie. TV movie.
Yeah, but it's good. I mean, the acting is, not bad. It doesn't have like cheap jump scares. But yeah, I mean, so anyways, since James Wan said Malignant was a giallo, what is your favorite giallo movie? Even though Malignant is definitely not a giallo, but what is your
I want to be a cool guy and be all like, listen to this obscure movie that's the best giallo, but it's a toss-up. But I really do think my favorite giallo is Deep Red, Dario Argento.
Okay.
Most people, I mean, at least I didn't go with the one that most people would say, which is Suspiria,
which is
a great.
That's mine.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great. Okay, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's everyone's favorite for a reason.
Because it was gonna be Suspiria or Deep Red, but I mean, I saw Deep Red after Suspiria and I liked it a lot more. Not a lot more, but I mean, it's not. When he's putting out films, like those two films are his best film. I
just can't get over it. The Goblin soundtrack just makes it. Just can't touch it. You just can't touch it. Like Suspiria's soundtrack is so good.
I have a cut. I have a Dawn of the Dead. I have a German Blu-ray that I got at a convention, and it has the international cut. They call it the Argento cut, and the score is by Goblin.
But yeah, I mean, Argento used Goblin like a lot, didn't he?
Almost everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And if he didn't use Goblin, he used somebody from the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, yeah, those can't be remade. Those can't be duplicated.
Well, Suspiria, I actually really like the Suspiria remake because it's so different from the original.
I wish I could bring myself to watch that.
It's so different, and there's a scene in the Suspiria remake that is fucked up. Like it is hard to watch because of just how like kind of twisted it gets. But it's a good movie. It really doesn't feel like the original Suspiria at all, except for the fact that it's at like a ballet school, and that's really it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I like when if you're gonna slap a name from another movie on there, at least try to make your own movie.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely I would definitely urge you to watch it. But I mean the original Suspiria is just the music, the lighting. I mean the scene where the one girl falls into that room just filled with razor wire. Like what the like? Yes, I'm sorry. It just you can't do better.
That's one of the best scenes in that movie.
Mm-hmm. For me, it just doesn't get better. But so I don't know if there's I don't know if there's much else to talk about or.
I got nothing. What you want to decide right now? We're gonna do next time.
Yeah.
You got anything in mind? Because I mean,
I'd like to keep with with kind of a horror theme for the season.
Okay. Yeah, I think for the first few we could do some horror for sure. The season, yeah, like you said.
Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to edit all this dead air right here out.
Because we're like,
Have you ever seen the movie Cry Wolf? Actually,
is that the one with the person with the red ski mask?
Yeah.
And John Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
That was one of those ones that I just went to the store and I bought it when it came out. You know what? I could watch it again because I barely remember it. So that good choice.
Okay, yeah. I own it. I haven't seen it in a while, and I've been
With
wanting to watch it, and I need a reason
with
to.
with John Bon Jovi. All right.
Hell yeah. Okay. So
Let's do
what?
it. Fuck it.
So what? So next week we'll do our video on Cry Wolf.
Yeah. Next week it's Cry Wolf.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. So thanks everyone for watching or listening to the film section. I'm Mark, and
I'm Chris. We'll see you next time for Cry Wolf.
hell yeah. Okay.
All right. Holy shit.